Hello, Grade 8s, and welcome back to Worksheet Cloud. This is Grade 8 English, and I'm so glad that you've joined me today. I'm Mrs. Goslet, and if you have a question during this lesson, please send us an email at grade8@worksheetcloud.com. Guys, I'm so excited for today's lesson. I actually think this might have been the reason I became an English teacher. I love reading. I love literature. And I think at varsity, I really found that I thoroughly enjoyed reading a text, analyzing it, writing an essay. I know you guys might think, no, that's not what you enjoy doing, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't actually know what I wanted to be until I was in grade 11, grade 12. Grade 11, they make you do job shadowing, and I think it's such a good thing because there I found out what I didn't want to be. So I always knew that I loved animals, and I always knew that I loved children. I wasn't sure which direction to go, and I feel that I sort of got pulled in the more of the children direction. So in grade 11, I went to a creche, and I job shadowed, and I was exhausted by the end of the day. I don't know how they do it. They're the actual heroes, because to look after such young children and their energy, and they wanted me to spin them all the time, and I'm like a people pleaser. I'm going to spin you until I can't anymore. So I came home and I said, that's it. I can't do that. What am I going to do? And then in grade 12, I just applied to universities, and I just thought, let me, become a teacher. I know it's with children. I have no idea what type of, I think I watched a movie, The Guardian, and I saw her, she was like a primary school or a foundation phase teacher, and I thought, I think I could do that. I think I'd be good at that. And then when I got to varsity, we have to do practicals, and I did primary school, I did high school, and I loved high school. So I didn't just wake up overnight, and I only found out what grade and what, special, and also in varsity, I didn't know what subject I was going to teach. I did so many different subjects. Then I specialized in English. So I'm very, very glad that I went this route. Some days it's more rewarding than others, but I'm so excited to be here today. I hope you guys are. That was a very long-winded welcome. I did a little introduction into Goodnight, Mr. Tom. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't, it's okay. You can just learn from the scratch now. So we read this in grade 8 at my school. My book's looking a bit worse for wear. I love this book. I love reading. I love how the learners always just want to read. Ma'am, please, can we keep reading? So that also brings me excitement and enjoyment to see other learners wanting to actually read this book. I've never watched the movie. So I'm going to give you a little snippet of this book. And this, remember, is set in London. So it's got this, and Mr. Oakley lives in a village. They've got a different type of accent. So if you hear strange words, I'll try and butt in and help out. Number 1, chapter 1, meeting. Yes, said Tom bluntly, on opening the front door. What do you want? A harassed, middle-aged woman in a green coat and felt hat stood on his step. He glanced at the armband on her sleeve. She gave him an awkward smile. I'm the billeting officer for this area, she began. A billeting officer is just someone in the military who's going to place the children into different homes. Oh, yes. And what's that got to do with me? She flushed slightly. Well, Mr. Oakley, Thomas Oakley. Ah, thank you, Mr. Oakley. She paused and took a deep breath. Mr. Oakley, with the declaration of war imminent. Tom waved his hand. I knows all that. Get to the point. What you want? He noticed a small boy at her side. It's him I've come about, she said. I'm on my way to your village hall with the others. What others? She stepped to the side. Behind the large iron gate, which stood at the end of the graveyard, were a small group of children. Many of them were filthy and very poorly clad. Only a handful had a blazer or coat. They all looked bewildered and exhausted. One tiny dark-haired girl in the front was hanging firmly onto a new teddy bear. The woman touched the boy at her side and pushed him forward. There's no need to tell me, said Tom. Sorry, I just need to sneeze. It's obligatory. That means compulsory. And it's for the war effort. You are entitled to choose your child, I know, began the woman apologetically. Tom gave a snort. But she continued. His mother wants him to be with someone who's religious or near a church. She was quite adamant. She would only let him be evacuated if he was what? Asked Tom impatiently. Near a church. Tom took a second look at the child. The boy was thin and sickly looking, pale, with limp sandy hair and dull grey eyes. His name's Willie, said the woman. Willie, who had been staring at the ground, looked up. Round his neck, hanging from a piece of string, was a cardboard label. It read, William Beach. Tom was well in his 60s, a healthy, robust, stockily built man, with a head of thick white hair. Although he was of average height, in Willie's eyes he was a towering giant, with skin like coarse, wrinkled brown paper, and a voice like thunder. He glared at Willie. You best come in, he said abruptly. The woman gave a relieved smile. Thank you so much, she said, and she backed quickly away and hurried down a tiny path towards the other children. Willie watched her go. I'm going to stop there for today. Well, this lesson. I hope that sparked some of your interest. You can see on the first meeting, Willie's quite poor. He's malnourished, so that means he's not fed well. His hair's limp. They describe it as limp, so it's not healthy. It's not and they say a dull color. His eyes are also sullen, or they're just not bright and how a young child should look. She also describes a lot of the other children from all the evacuees as being filthy and dirty. And so we find out that they're quite poor and they don't have jackets or coats, so they're not very well looked after. We also learn a little bit about William's mother. So she's very religious and she wants him to be near a church or with someone who is religious. So that's why Mr. Tom lands up with William. Now, many of my learners snicker and giggle at Willie's nickname, but there's actually a deeper meaning behind it. And his name is William, but his mom belittles him. His mom treats him really badly, and so she nicknames him Willie to make him seem small and insignificant, but he's not important. Now he meets and he befriends this boy named Zach. And Zach actually starts to call him Will. And this changes because William doesn't like to be called Willie. So I know in a lot of my notes, the nickname is Willie, but it's actually a negative. I think most of us don't like if we get called a certain nickname. I know I had a nickname growing up and I also didn't like it. But then when I moved to Cape Town, it changed. And I was so happy because I could start afresh. Because in high school, it wasn't bad. One person calls you and then it just cottons on. And then everyone's calling you that name. And then, yeah, it wasn't the best. But then when I moved to Cape Town, one of my Cape Townian friends were like, no, what do people call you? And I said the nickname, and they were like, no, we're not calling you that. And they gave me a new nickname, and I was so happy, and I was so, yeah. But anyway, getting back to the story, Good Night, Mr. Tom. I think we can all relate. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of a summary. Okay, it might be a big summary, so just follow with me. Good Night, Mr. Tom by Michelle Morrigan recounts one abused boy's life-changing relationship with a lonely elderly man whom he calls Mr. Tom. Sorry, there shouldn't be a full stop there. That is incorrect. Yeah. You should know that when there's an abbreviation, if the letter ends on the word Mr., which is ends, then you don't put a full stop. Sorry. On the eve of World War II in September 1939, children were evacuated from England's cities, particularly London, due to the waves of Nazi bombs that were soon to fall on the city during the London Blitz. William Beach is evacuated to a small village, and that's where the accent comes in the small village, Little Werewold, in the English countryside, where the alien sights and sounds terrify him. The alien just means it's foreign. It's not, he's not used to it at first. So when something is new to you, it is quite scary at a young age. I think he's 9 years old when he comes to Mr. Tom. So that's just, and Mr. Tom is described as being robust, which he's quite solid and strong and big and tall. But I'll give you a little bit of information there. I think he's very scared because he's been abused. So it says here his mom abuses him. So his mom pretty much tells him everything he does is wrong. So if he asks a question, what's the time? Why is the weather so cold? Why is the grass so green? Why do dogs lick? If he asks any of those curious questions, his mother tells him he's rude, disrespectful, cheeky, so he's not allowed to ask any questions. And if he does ask a question, he gets beaten or he gets hit. So Mr. Tom, he sees this man and realizes his mother hits him. Now, if Mr. Tom has to hit him, it's going to be so painful. But obviously, Mr. Tom is such a gentle, kind soul, and he doesn't believe in hitting. William is so shocked and so surprised. But I'm not giving away too much, don't worry. I'm going to give it away now. Through the persistent, gentle caring of Mr. Tom, William learns to trust and love another human being. And I love this. This is so special. Tom Oakley, who understands why William arrived covered with bruises, without proper clothing, and he is terribly thin, comes to love William like a son. And that's what I love about this story. It's so beautiful. They almost fill each other's holes of emptiness or loneliness and loving. What William knew of life, beatings, and hateful words is transformed into a life of full kindness and affection and the peace that comes with them. Slowly, Will begins to make friends at school, including his best friend, Zach. He learns that he is talented at drawing. He learns to trust that Mr. Tom and others will not hurt him. In turn, the reclusive Mr. Tom opens his heart again. After the death of his wife and baby son about 40 years ago from scarlet fever, he became the village recluse. So he went inside of himself. He stayed away from everyone. He was very sad, very lonely. So sorry, I keep saying it's such a beautiful story. This is where it gets, he's called back to go to London. His mother says she's sick. So, who has psychologically and physically abused William his whole life. William has no choice because it's his mother. He has to go back and he dreads it. He's started a life. He's got friends. He's learned how to read and write. Yes, he didn't know how to read and write. Mr. Tom helps him. Will finds the situation with his mother is even worse than before. I'm not going to go into that. Hopefully you guys will pick up a book and read it. Feeling that something has gone terribly wrong when the days pass, because he doesn't hear from William, Mr. Tom gets on a train in search of him. Mr. Tom dreads the city, having never traveled outside the area containing his village, but his love for Will encourages him to overcome his fears. He convinces a policeman to break down the locked door to William's mother's place. And I'm leaving it there at that. So we don't know I know, you don't know what's going to happen. He tries to find William, and then I'm definitely not going to give it away. I always give it away. Themes. So we're just going to look at a certain different themes, and we're going to look at characters. So I've got birthday balloons here because William has never had a birthday. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the story because he is so appreciative, and the overwhelming love that a party does for him is immense. So the theme I've got here is birthday cake. It's more about family and friendships and about love. So William has never had a birthday celebration or even recognition before moving in with Mr. Tom. So Mr. Tom plans this whole party. The town took William in as family, so they all view him as family, and gave him all sorts of gifts to make him feel more at home. It's so, so sweet. Mr. Tom cared for Willie and bought him new clothes, made especially for him, something that Willie has never experienced. This birthday party was the very first time William was given any sort of recognition of being a friend, part of a family, and someone who is special and cared for. And that is so important in growing up and establishing your self-worth and your identity. You need to feel cared for. You need to feel special. He's such a cute little boy. Oh, he loved to paint. I feel like I know him. So finding oneself and self-discovery. So William received paints for his birthday from Mr. Tom, and he immediately starts painting, and he's actually very good at it. He's got such a natural talent. He had finally found something that he was good at, and others saw it in him too. And that encourages him. His best friend was like, "Wow, William, you're so good at painting. I wish I could do that." And that just gives us self-belief in ourselves when we're good at something. Then this ability made William feel self-conscious at first, so he didn't know how to actually take it, because at his old school he was bullied, he was teased, he didn't really have any friends, so he's never experienced praise. His mother's never said, "Well done." And if you don't experience something like that, you first feel shy, because, if someone says it in a room of people, you don't know how to take it. So he's embarrassed to draw any positive attention to himself, but over time he embraces this. He gets used to the recognition, and he allows people to praise him. And here he actually, he enjoys receiving a "well done." Everyone does. Willie becomes very proud of himself. Then we're going to look at the themes and the symbols. So London is the past, or William's past. Socks mean control, and in a sense, what does that mean? You won't really know that because you haven't read. So what happens is he's very self-conscious in the beginning, and his socks are always pulled up. If they fall down, he has to pull them up because it's his secret. And the secret is he has bruises on his legs. And what does that mean? He's a naughty boy. He's a bad boy. That's what his mother tells him, and that's why he has bruises. But Mr. Tom shows him that he's not a bad person. And so it's almost, he has to really change his thinking. Birthday cake equals family and friendship and love. Paints is finding oneself. You need to find what you're good at, what you enjoy. Blackberries is friendship and growth. They go on blackberry hunting, a whole group of them. It's really sweet. Theater, Will actually becomes an actor, and he's really good at it. Zach is the main act, though. He's always loved theater, so that's how William first gets drawn into acting. Then they do a lot of nature and they go on holiday to the beach. So that's just showing life and life experience. Whereas in London, he didn't experience nature. Ocean is freedom. They go to the beach, the beach, the beach. It is so cute. They ride bicycles, him, Mr. Tom, and Zach, and they have such a splendid time at the beach and on vacation. That's what they say. Bicycle is linked to grieving. So something bad happens and Will is quite sad, and the bicycle helps him to get over it, to heal, to grieve the loss. Then meditation, okay, growth and life. But that's pretty much all our themes now, symbols. Oh, this dog is he plays quite an important role in comforting William, which is quite nice. He sleeps on his bed sometimes and he's always there. So we know William is our protagonist. He's the main character. So is Mr. Tom. Sammy is Mr. Tom's border collie dog. Zach becomes William's best friend. Carrie and Ginny are twins. Okay, they are very good friends. George is also a friend. There are lots of other friends. Mrs. Beach. I love this because my learners will always say, we don't like her. She's horrible. So, yeah, William's mother, she's not very popular. But shame, she's also got her issues. And I try to explain that to my learners. Mrs. Hartridge is William's teacher. And he has such a good relationship with her. And they form a special bond. And she's very caring. Oh dear, my picture's not very clear. I do apologize for that. But that's the end of our lesson. I think I forgot to do my recap. Yeah. I'm so sorry, grade 8s. I made a mistake. So recap is just learning a little bit about a novel. So we all will do a novel from grade 8 to grade 12. And it's important for you to be in class, to learn and to read the story, to know the plot, because it's not just about knowing the story and knowing the plot. It's about knowing the themes and the characters, because that's how they ask essay questions. Sometimes we don't enjoy the books, but it's important to keep an open mind, because if you shut something down the moment you just don't feel like reading it, you don't give yourself a chance to actually enjoy what the story is about. Because not all of us are going to like, we all have our different, some people like science fiction or adventure or, I'm rambling, but anyway, there is an activity, just a few questions to see if you actually know or paid attention. It can help you interpret questions, answering for when you write an exam on your novel. And then we just do a little bit of motivation. So today I'd like you to be thankful for what you are now. Keep fighting for what you want to be tomorrow. So be thankful and appreciate what your strengths are. You must know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And it's important for you to keep fighting for your dream. So know what you want and go for it. Work hard at it. And I just want to thank you so much for being with me and watching grade 8s. It was a privilege to teach you my favorite story at school, Good Night, Mr. Tom. If you guys want to read it, it would be great. Thanks for watching. This lesson was brought to you by Worksheet Cloud. I'm Mrs. Goslet, and I'll catch you around. Bye, grade 8s.